Let me give you a quick overview on this company that is behind this innovative technology around process automation in the operating rooms. Um, Very quick, MySphere is a leading digital health company in Europe that has developed solution working together with our customers. And we are already in more than 40 hospitals in Europe. In fact, it's closer to 50 right now, having won many awards, and one of them, important award from the US, the RFID Journal Award as the best IoT deployment in the year 2016. The technology that MySphere has developed is addressing the switch in the paradigm from volume-based healthcare to value-based healthcare. MySphere platform addresses the quadruple aim objective that all healthcare organizations have today, impacting the efficiencies in the hospital, improving efficiencies in that brings better outcomes from that, increasing the patient engagement, increasing the safety both of the clinicians as well as the patients, and finally lowering the cost of healthcare, which, as we know, is one very key issue today in healthcare. So what is exactly the MySphere solution? Our solution, we call it our hospital process manager platform, is made out of different components. Number one is the input devices. And these input devices are typically real-time location sensors and IoT sensors that bring information of the movement of patients, clinicians, and assets around the hospital to an engine that then sends the information to our hospital process manager, the application that will be the one that orchestrates the movement of all these assets and the optimization of these movements so that we achieve the quadruple aim objective that I just mentioned. The second component of our platform is the capability to integrate with the current hospital information systems in place in the hospitals. And all this information flows to multiple devices that are utilized by the different stakeholders in the organization. In the case of the surgical process automation platform, and specifically the OR, these stakeholders are the management, the porters, the maintenance teams, and the clinical staffs, and all of them are being orchestrated by this solution, and allows all of them to coordinate their activities so that they can achieve these better outcomes that I just mentioned. Some of the features of our solution for the operating theaters is secure identification of the patient, enabling that we know for sure that that patient is the right one, and that is not a foregone conclusion because mistakes are made. In this technology will make those mistakes go away. The second functionality is the ability to locate in real time people and assets, and be able to provide status updates on where these assets and where these people are, and what is the impact that the movement of these people and assets have in the operating processes. The third feature of the platform is a strong workflow engine that allows to automate and orchestrate the process around the operating room. This workflow engine is at the core of the technology that MySphere has developed and is unique in the marketplace today. Another feature of the platform is the real-time dashboards that are highly customizable, and that allows the stakeholders to have actionable information at their fingertips, which means that both the staff and also the patient relatives are kept up to date with the situation in those operating rooms. One corollary to that business intelligence platform is that we are able to analyze all this information and be able to improve the processes in real time. And we will see an example in a few minutes on how this platform has impacted one of the largest and most important lighthouse hospitals in Europe by using our platform and by using our analytical capabilities. These processes can be optimized and improved in real time constantly. Some examples of customers, hospitals that we have and that we are very proud to say that are leveraging the Maestria platform are Vall d'Hebron in Barcelona, La Fe in Valencia, el Consorcio Hospital General Universitario in Valencia, the Lighthouse Hospital in Sevilla, Virgen del Rocío, a very important hospital in France, Paris Saint Joseph, in Paris Saint Joseph, and many other hospitals. It would be a long list, and just wanted to give you a flavor of some of the hospitals that are leveraging our platform to improve their processes and to also offer their patients higher levels of satisfaction. Let me jump to the next slide, which is the example of Vall d'Hebron. This is jumping a little bit, so I'll jump to the results. What you're seeing right now is the implementation that we did in Vall d'Hebron, the results of this implementation. But before I go into the detail, let me explain all the operating units in Vall d'Hebron. You have the HGE, which is the general hospital. The HMI is the pediatric hospital. The HTR, the oncology unit, the radiation therapy unit, and the UCSI, which is the ICU in English. When they analyze the performance of these operating units, they realized that the general hospital was the one that had the lowest performance numbers. Therefore, the hospital decided that the first implementation of the Maestria platform was going to be in the general hospital. These are the numbers that they provided us in the year 2017. After 12 months of this implementation, as you can see in this slide, the general hospital has improved their performance by 10% and is now actually the operating unit in Vall d'Hebron Hospital that has the highest performance numbers. Evidently, we're going to move across the whole organization to improve the performance of all the other surgical units, but this is something that was accomplished with the implementation of the platform in just 12 months. Now, that translates in numbers, and these are numbers based on the studies that are in the marketplace applied to this Vall d'Hebron example. In their cost savings, our customer told us are between $1.4 million to $2.3 million a year. So this is a huge improvement. Not only they are improving the outcomes for the patients, not only also making the work of the patients and the clinicians safer, but they're also lowering the cost of doing business, the cost of maintaining these operating rooms, which is obviously one of the key components, one of the 4 components of the quadruple aim objectives. As a well-renowned economist that I had the pleasure to meet in person many years ago, Peter Drucker said, if you cannot measure it, you cannot manage it. And it really is what it comes down to. Hospitals need to have modern platforms that will allow them to be able to improve their operations and be able to justify those investments that are expensive. But ultimately, if you can measure those investments in results, then they are worth their investment. So that's my last slide. And what I like to do, Thomas, is open the floor for questions, if anybody has any questions or comments.
Absolutely. Let me switch on the camera again. Yeah, we have some, and let me show them in the stream. Günther, thank you very much. You have 2 questions or comments. So Ricardo, first he wants to know, like, how is performance measured? So what you mentioned before, what is?
So performance was measured based on the utilization of the operating theaters. So they have today, until they implemented the MySphere platform, they were doing all these processes manually. So the scheduling of the operating theaters, in the introduction of all the steps and movements of patients from the moment that they come into the hospital until they leave the hospital, all of that was done manually, and entering that information into the EHR, right? So now that information is not entered by hand. That information, number one, is automatically integrated into the HIS of Bidebron, so that you are not going to have mistakes from manual entry, but also because you're orchestrating the different stakeholders, and there are multiple stakeholders, in an operating theater, because you're orchestrating the stakeholders in real time in using this digital health platform, then you're able to optimize the movement of the patients throughout the process. So the performance is measured on times of utilization of the operating rooms, and also the times that these patients are in the different stages of the process.
Okay, thank you. And then I think the next one is related as well, again from Günther. Thanks, Günther. He mentions, like, what is the impact on time saving for staff, or isn't this the bottleneck?
Yeah, that's a very good question. So, when we started this no, it's a good question, because technology, and that there have been studies that in Europe, that staff and clinicians are the ones that suffer the new technologies implementation in the hospitals. All this slew of technologies that at the end of the day are many times ineffective, or at best very difficult to learn how to use. So what we learned is that the staff was very happy just shortly after we implemented the solution, because now they can walk around with a smartphone and receive all these notifications about where things are, when they need to be to this on that point or this point of the process. So for them is actually a tool that has a very easy learning curve. So you don't have a steep learning curve like other technologies. And I don't want to use examples, but everybody that is in a hospital understands the complications of implementing different systems. So you have a very easy path. And secondly, it's something that impacts their daily routines in a positive way. So that creates time savings, and makes the staff also, in the case of having to be looking for the different patients that need to go into the operating theaters, it allows them to know exactly where and when they have to look for them, so that they don't have to be looking around the hospital, going to a wing and realize that patient moved from one room to another, and now they need to cross the hospital to another area to look for that patient. So it was a win-win for the different stakeholders, not only the patients, but also the clinicians and the staff in the hospital.
Sure. Yeah, by the way, sorry, Ricardo, I had to laugh with, as you said, this is a very interesting question, because I'm assuming our viewers, they have some specific questions, or they're from the industry, and that's why I hope, or I believe they have good questions. So if there is no question anymore, I would have one question for you, and for perhaps as well for our participants. Like, you're responsible for the strategy, and you're based in the US. So MySphere is then working internationally, or what are your plans for the future?
That's a very good question. Absolutely, we believe that there is technology, and we're going to talk about European technology, because your program is about bringing innovation to the market, discussing innovation into the market. So MySphere is a market leader in digital health in Europe, and it has been extremely successful in the European market with customers, as we mentioned, in Spain, but also customers in France, and we are installing our solutions now in other countries. So we believe that this technology can be a game changer in a market that is much more mature, like the US market. So today, I'm working from here, from the Silicon Valley, because here in Silicon Valley, digital health, as you know, is a hot item, and there's a huge search and a lot of hunger for digital health technologies that can impact the lowering of the cost of health in the United States. That's a huge problem. So today, MySphere, a European technology, has the opportunity to bring those impacts that we already see in the European hospitals into the hospital system, private hospital systems in the US. That's the reason why I am based here. And we are going to have a lot of good news to report to you, Thomas, and the rest of the of our ecosystem there in the next 12 months, because we are moving fast and furiously, doing good things for the healthcare industry. At the end of the day, it's all about providing better outcomes and to be able to bring technology that will have a direct impact into that nirvana, which is the quadruple aim objective.
Perfect. Yeah, it was a great pleasure having you with us, Ricardo, talking from San Francisco, from the heart of in Silicon Valley. And yes, very happy having like a European company being in the US as well, or having a global impact. And yeah, wishing you great luck. And thanks again for joining us. And thanks for the questions or for our viewers. And yeah, have a great day. And talk to you soon again, Ricardo.
Yeah, thank you, Thomas. The pleasure is all mine.
Thank you very much.